Namaste students, welcome to Start Business Studies class, and we are discussing about directing, and this is the last topic in case of directing. We are discussing about elements of directing. So communication is the last element of directing, and in that this is the last topic. And the previous class we discussed about what do you mean by communication, and in case of communication which are the elements of communication. We have different elements of communication, that is sender, receiver, the media, encoding, decoding. So these are the different elements of communication. And later on we discussed the formal and informal communication. There are two kinds of communication, formal and informal communication. Formal communication is such communication which flow through the organization structure, that is like the manager, the departmental heads, employees. Then in the same way, informal communication, which takes other than the formal organization structure. It might be the employees, those who sit in canteen and what they charge, and other things what they speak, not which doesn't flow through the formal lines of communication, that we call as informal communication, or else the grapevine communication. Informal communication or grapevine communication. And under formal and informal communication there are some networks, the formal networks and as well as informal networks. In case of formal networks like circular network, inverted V network, then the straight network. So there are different kinds of network. And informal network, there are also some of the networks like probability network, cluster network, then the strand network. So there are variety of networks through which we communicate. And afterwards we discussed about there are various kinds of the barriers to communication, which are the obstacles or various kinds of barriers to communication. When we speak about barriers or obstacles to communication, there are mainly four kinds of barriers or obstacles to the communication. Those are, the first one we discussed about there comes, we have psychological barriers, then organizational barriers, and also the personal barriers. So these are the different kinds of barriers. Then first comes the semantic barriers. So semantic barrier is the barriers where we get obstacles or the problems due to the usage of our language or usage of our words or how we frame sentences. So such kind of problems we call it as semantic barriers. And then we discussed about then we discussed about organizational barriers. There are some organizational barriers. What are those organizational barriers? Due to the organization, means your organization, it should not provide, it's not providing you a proper platform to communicate. It might be the conducting of meetings or asking suggestions. Such kind of opportunity or organization is not providing. Due to that, what problems you will face while communicating, that we call it as organizational problems. Then we discussed about psychological problems. There are some psychological problems. It will be what we face, some of the problems to communicate due to some of the psychological expressions. This can be when we are in angry mood, how we respond. When we are happy, how we respond. When we are irritated, how we respond. When we are sad, how we communicate. So these psychological emotions, it affects the communication. So sometimes it will become hindrance or barriers to communication, and some of the psychological barriers we discussed. Then we discussed last kind of barriers, that is personal barriers. There are some personal barriers to communication. It might be we may not like some person, or there might be some problem between two people, or we may think of our status. If I speak, what happens to my status? I may not trust some people. So these are some of the these are some of the personal barriers in order while communicating this. We face these kinds of problems. So when we discuss the barriers to communication, so there has to be some solution in order to overcome such kind of barriers. So today's class will discuss some of the measures, or there are some of the measures to improve or to overcome those barriers to communication. And with this we can wind up with the topic called directing. Now here, which are those measures through that we can improve our communication, or we can avoid those obstacles or we can avoid those hindrance or barriers to communication. So here the first one comes, clarify the ideas before communication. There may be the lots of information. If we take organization what happens? The top level management, the management, they frame various policies and procedures, or they are planning to introduce something. But before communicating it to the organization, they have to clarify what I am going to communicate to my employees, whether it is in what way I need to communicate. If I communicate, what kind of reaction I may get, and what I'm going to communicate, whether it's in a proper way, whether my message is in a proper way, whether my content is in a proper way. Can I communicate? If I communicate, whether I can get some of the adverse effect from that. When I communicate, it should be favorable to me. It shouldn't be unfavorable to me. So before communicate, I need to clarify all these facts, all the information, or all the necessary things which are very necessary, that I need to clarify with others. It might be the group of the employees, or it might be some people with whom I need to communicate. I should clarify those information. If I find yes, my information what I am going to communicate, it's in a proper way, then I should go to communicate. So first one is clarify the ideas before communication. Then we can avoid some kinds of problems. Then comes the second one, communicate according to the needs of the receiver. Sometimes what happens, we communicate, but receiver, he will not be in a position to understand what I am communicating, and sometimes he will be not showing any kind of interest towards what I am communicating. So I should be crystal clear about the mindset of the receiver with whom I am communicating. I should know that person properly, whether what I am going to communicating, whether this person is able to understand my communication, whether he is able to receive what I am going to give it to him, whether he has that eligibility or not, or whether he is interested or not. That I need to understand. So I need to understand the minds of, we cannot understand the mindset of all the individual, but on an average we can predict. If they are working in my organization means, on an average I will be knowing each and every person, how this person will behave, how this person will think, how this person is. So I will be knowing on an average about the particular person. So before communicating, I need to understand the mindset of the receiver, whether he is able to receive my communication or not. So that is the second one, communicate according to the needs of the receiver. Then third one, consult others before communicating. As I said, clarify, the clarification and consult. Clarification is nothing but I am checking what I am going to communicate. I am checking once again whether it's in a proper way, whether I can communicate this information. And consult others means I have to take lot of other suggestions. When I have taken a particular decision, before communicate it to the employees, I need to consult some other people, those who suggest some valuable suggestion. I need to consult others. If I consult others, I may get some other suggestions. So altogether I can make a proper message what I want to communicate. So I need to consult others and I have to take their opinion on the particular decision. Then I need to go to communicate to the employees or to go to the organization. So third one, consult others before communicating. Then fourth one, beware of language. Be aware of language, tone and content. It's very important. We need to aware of language. Which language I am going to communicate. Whether this particular group of people, whether they can understand the language which I am using. Or I need to change my language, or I need to mix some other language. So the language, it takes the major part in case of communicating. If a person is not able to understand that particular language, then it's a waste of what you are going to communicate, or he is not able to understand it. Or else one more thing, tone and content. The content is very important. Content is the fact what you are going to communicate. It should be clear to the people who is going to receive it. Content should be very clear. There shouldn't be any kind of confusion regarding the content. And tone means in what way we are going to speak. A tone should be proper. Sometimes there will not be match between body language or tone. Tone express something else and we are speaking something else. So there shouldn't be mismatch between our tone and the what we are going to speak. So we need to be aware of the language, the usage of language and the tone and also the content. Content means the message what we are going to communicate. The next one comes there, convey things of help and value to listeners. As I said, we need to understand before communicating it to the listeners, the what I am going to communicate, whether it has any use to that person. If it is yes, if it is really useful, then that person will definitely he will listen to it. If it's not a useful matter with what I am going to communicate, definitely he will not going to listen to it, or he will not show any kind of interest to listen to this kind of facts. So I need to understand it and I need to convey such kind of information, or I should communicate such information where it will be useful to that particular person, to that particular person, and if it is useful then only he will listen or he will value. The next one, ensure proper feedback. Ensure proper feedback means after communicating we need to get or we need to receive feedback. This mostly happens in case of organization. We introduce new policy or procedures, or we are going to introduce something new, some new technology or machinery or equipment, anything. What happens initially, there will be resistance from the employees. Now once if we communicate to the employees and after that we need to wait for their feedback. If we get proper feedback from the employees or in the organization, then we can modify our policies or procedure, whatever we communicate, and if they are not ready to accept the change, then we can modify if we get proper feedback from the employees. The next one, communicate for present as well as for the future. Now what we communicate, it should be helpful for the present situation, what actions we are going to take, and as well as the content, it should be helpful for the future itself. So the matter or the content what we are going to speak, it should helpful for the present as well as future. Then follow-up communication. Follow-up communication, as I said, after communicating we need to check that what I communicated to my employees, whether they understood this particular communication. The directing mainly it says it based on the follow-up action. There I need to do some of the follow-up actions. I need to know that whether my employees are going according to my instructions, or if not, I need to take some of the corrective measures. If they are going according to my directions or what I communicated to them, according to that, if they are going, it's okay, we can go with that particular plan or particular action. If they are not going according to my plan or what I communicated, then I need to take some of the actions in order to make the communication more effective. Then be a good listener. There is one more suggestion is there, that before communicating anything, we need to listen the lots of suggestions, or if anybody is providing their opinion, we need to listen to that. Then we need to prepare particular policy or procedure or what we want to communicate. So before communicating, we need to be a good listener. If we listen to others, if we listen to them, then only based on that we can prepare the proper content or proper message. So this is about which are the different measures in order to improve the communication. There comes first one, clarify the ideas before communication. Then communicate according to the needs of the receiver. Then consult others before communicating. Then comes beware of language, tone and content. Then the fifth one, that is convey things of help and value to listener. Then sixth one, ensure proper feedback. Then seventh one, communicate for present as well as for the future. Eighth one, follow communications. And ninth one, be a good listener. So with this we can complete with the chapter called directing. But as you know, this is a very vast chapter. I just want to revise this particular chapter once. So here firstly we started with the communication meaning and definition. Then we have have seen what are the different kinds of features of communication, and then we have seen importance of communication, why communication is important, or what are the essentials of communication. After that we have seen some of the principles of communication. What are those principles of communication? When we communicate, we need to include those principles. If we include those principles, then our communication will be effective. So we have seen initially, we have seen the meaning and definitions of communication. Then we have seen features there. Then we have seen features. Then importance. Then principles. Later on we move towards the elements of direction. Elements of direction, which is very important topic under elements of directing. You know that there are mainly 4 elements of directing. The first one comes there. First we have motivation, then we have leadership, then last one it is communication. Firstly we discussed about supervision. So supervision, motivation, then leadership and communication. In case of supervision, we have seen the importance of supervision, why supervision is necessary, and we have also seen the supervision under the context of one is supervision as a one managerial function. Supervision, it is a function of one of the managerial function. On the other way, we have seen supervision as a one of the elements of direction. The supervision, he performs their 2 functions. One it is one of the position in the managerial hierarchy, and also we have seen this is one of the elements of supervision. Then we have seen their motivation, and in case of motivation, mainly we discussed there is a theory called Maslow's need hierarchy theory. Here in case of motivation, initially we have seen what is motive, then what is motivation, and what is motivator. So we know that motive is it's an inner urge of a particular person. He will be having something needs, because of that need a particular motive will arise. And motivation means which influences us to do particular action, that we call it as motivation. Motivator is a technique which we use in case of organization. It might be a financial incentives, or it might be non-financial incentives. And in case of motivation, as I said, we discussed about the theory called Maslow's need hierarchy theory. This theory is mainly based on the human needs. It says that there is no end for a human need. The satisfaction of if he is satisfied with the basic need, the other need will arise in front of him. So there are some of the assumptions for Maslow's need hierarchy theory, and we have seen there in that particular theory where our needs are settled in case of hierarchical order. There first comes physiological need, and then comes safety or security needs, then comes their social needs, then self-actualization needs. So there is in case of Maslow's need hierarchy theory, our needs are settled on the hierarchical basis, and when our basic needs are satisfied, a human being he moves towards the next level needs. So this particular theory is mainly based on the human needs. Then after studying Maslow's need hierarchy theory, there we discussed incentives, that is financial incentives and non-financial incentives. Which are those financial and non-financial incentives? Financial incentives are those incentives. What do you mean by incentives? Incentives are these are in and above the salary, what facilities we are getting, that we call it as incentives. And these incentives are divided into two categories, that is financial, which we get in the form of cash. It might be a bonus or it might be your increment, that we call it as financial. And non-financial, the other facilities, it might be the educational facilities to your children or health facilities, or you may be getting quarters over there, that is non-financial facilities. These non-financial facilities are measured in the terms of money, but you are not getting in the form of cash. So that we call it as non-financial incentives. So in motivation we discussed about mainly about the motivational theory, that is Maslow's need hierarchy theory, then financial and non-financial incentives. These two topics are very important. Then we move towards the leadership, and there we discussed what are the importance of leadership. Why a leader should be there in a particular organization. A leader can be your manager, he can play the role of leader, or your departmental head, he can be a leader he can play the role of a leader, or your supervisor, he can play the role of a leader. And there we have discussed the mainly the qualities of a good leader, then the types of leadership styles. There are some of the qualities how a leader should be. If he possesses such kind of qualities, then we can call him as a leader. So we discussed about some of the qualities of a good leader and types of leadership style. There are different kinds of leadership style, that is autocratic leadership, democratic leadership and laissez-faire leadership. In case of autocratic leadership, there is only one-way communication. Your superior, he sends the order, you have to receive the orders, and according to order, you have to work there. And in case of democratic leadership, there is a two-way communication. You can give your opinion and you can give your suggestion, and you can take part in the decision-making process. That we call it as democratic leadership, where there is a two-way communication. And the last one, it is laissez-faire leadership. There will be a majority freedom will be given to your subordinates, not to the superior. Only for the important factor he will take his decision. Your superior will interfere. Then rest all the decision will be made by the subordinate. Here a greater freedom will be there for a subordinates. But when we conclude, we can say that there should be a combination of both in an organization. There should be a autocratic leadership in some situation, and in some other situation there should be a democratic leadership, and in some other situation there should be a laissez-faire leadership. And the last topic which we discussed, that is communication. Communication, we have seen what do you mean by communication, what are the importance of communication. Then we have seen here mainly elements of communication. Then we have seen, after seeing the elements of communication, we have seen formal and informal communication. Informal communication, or we call it as a grapevine network. Why we call it as a grapevine network? It's important question, important one more question. What do you mean by grapevine network? Why it is called as a grapevine network? Because it spreads its branches throughout the organization. It spreads its branches throughout the organization. So we in all directions. So we call it as a grapevine network. And here we studied some of the networks, which are the formal networks, and there are some of the informal networks. And lastly, we discussed about the barriers of communication. Barriers to communication. Now, in today's session, we discussed the last topic, which are the various measures to improve the communication. We discussed about which are the various kinds of measures to improve the communication. So, these are the topics which comes under the top chapter called directing. So, this is the bit lengthy chapter, and it is very important. You can get there 1 mark question, 2 mark question, 4 mark question, as well as 8 mark question from this particular chapter. With this, we can wind up with this particular chapter, and there is a last chapter, controlling, is remaining in the first part, that will start in the next session. Thank you.